All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your presence. Just thank you in general. In a short while, we will be joined by our guests from UN Women, Nyarana Zai Gubonsvanda, who is the Deputy Executive Director for Normative Support and UN Coordination at UN Women, and Sarah Hendricks, the Director of Program Policy and Intergovernmental Division, also at UN Women. They'll be here to brief you on the Secretary General's report on women, peace, and security, as well as the 25th anniversary of Security Council Resolution 1325. Tomorrow, we will have another guest, and that will be Luke David Irving, the Chief of the UN Mine Action Service in the occupied Palestinian territory. He will be briefing you virtually from Jerusalem to discuss the situation with unexploded ordnances in Gaza. Some travel to share with you. On Wednesday morning, the Secretary General will arrive in Geneva to participate in a special session of the World Meteorological Congress commemorating the 75th anniversary of the World Meteorological Organization. The session will spotlight the early warnings for all initiative, where the Secretary General is expected to reiterate his urgent call for universal access to life-saving alert systems. Immediately following this event, he will proceed to the Palais des Nations to attend the 16th session of the UN Conference of Trade and Development. Following the session, the Secretary General will be joined by Carlos Cuerpo, Spain's Minister of Economy, Trade and Enterprise, and they will officially launch the Sevilla Forum on Debt. The forum is a key milestone in advancing the commitments made during the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development, which took place in Sevilla, in Spain. On Thursday, the Secretary General will head to Hanoi to participate in a high-level event marking the opening for signature of the UN Convention against Cybercrime. The convention was adopted by the General Assembly in December of last year. The landmark treaty is the first comprehensive global framework to address cybercrime, offering states a robust set of tools for prevention and enforcement. The convention will enter into force 90 days after the deposit of the 40th instruments of ratification. While in Vietnam, the Secretary General will also hold bilateral meetings with senior Vietnamese officials. On UN Day, October 24th, he will participate virtually via video link participated in the Security Council session commemorating the 80th anniversary of this organization. The official name of that Security Council session is United Nations Looking into the Future. On Saturday, the Secretary General will head to Kuala Lumpur, where he will attend the ASEAN UN Summit, which will be chaired by Malaysia. On the sidelines of the summit, he will also engage in a number of bilateral discussions with counterparts at the ASEAN meetings, as well, of course, as the Malaysian hosts. We also expect a press conference scheduled during that visit to ASEAN. We expect the Secretary General back in New York on the 28th of October. And I think, as you are well aware, and you saw the note that we issued earlier today, where we were informed by our team in Yemen that all 15 UN international staff are now free to move inside the UN compound in Sana'a. And they've also been in contact with their respective UN entities and families. This follows the October 18th incursion into our compound by the de facto authorities. Also, the 5 national staff that had been detained during that raid on October 18th have also now been released. As a reminder, 53 of our national colleagues in Yemen continue to be arbitrarily detained. Just want to flag a number of phone calls the Secretary General's made this morning, all on the situation in the Middle East, including the specific situation in Yemen. He spoke to the Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia, Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. He spoke with the Foreign Minister of Iran, Said Abbas Araghchi, and he spoke twice with the Foreign Minister of Oman, Said Badr bin Hamad bin Hamoud Al Saidi. Turning to Gaza, I can tell you that we are encouraged that the parties have reaffirmed their commitments to implementing the ceasefire in Gaza and commend the steadfast efforts of the mediators. We do, however, remain concerned by all acts of violence in Gaza and the reported attacks and strikes that took place yesterday. We urge all parties to honor all of their commitments to ensure the protection of civilians and avoid any actions that could lead to a renewal of hostilities and undermine humanitarian operations. We reiterate the Secretary General's call for the release of all the remains of all deceased hostages. The Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Tom Fletcher, has been in the region. As you know, he wrapped up his visit to the Gaza Strip over the weekend. Just to flag that on Saturday, he visited a UNICEF's nutrition center in Gaza. He also visited a hospital in Gaza City. He witnessed some road clearance projects run by the UN Development Program and a community kitchen run by our partners at the World Central Kitchen. Also on Saturday, he left Gaza through the Karim Abu Salam crossing. And on Sunday, he was in Ramallah to meet with the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas. They discussed the massive humanitarian needs in Gaza, the 60-day aid scale-up, the importance of sustaining the ceasefire, and, of course, the situation in the West Bank and the long-term prospects for peace. Today, in Jerusalem, Mr. Fletcher met with our humanitarian country team in the occupied Palestinian territory, which brings together about 15 UN entities and representatives of about 200 NGOs. Also, today, Mr. Fletcher announced that the Minderoo Foundation of Australia announced its contribution of 10 million Australian dollars from the Foundation for Humanitarian Efforts in Gaza, delivered in close coordination with the 60-day plan. If Michelle was here, she'd tell us how much 10 million Australian dollars is in US dollars. With the ceasefire in place, as more areas become accessible, UNRWA said yesterday they are expanding the number of temporary learning spaces set up in community shelters for displaced people. And in Deir el-Balah and Khan Yunis, our partners resumed the distribution of food parcels to thousands of families for the first time in months. And over the weekend, we, along with our partners, continued to collect aid from the Karim, Shalom, and Kisufim crossings. This included postpartum hygiene kits, medical supplies, water, and food. And also, I missed this. I want to flag that in the north, preparations are also underway sorry, I'm getting confused by my own notes here. I'll start again. Over the weekend, we and our partners continued to collect aid from the Karim Shalom Kisufim crossings. This included postpartum hygiene kits, medical supplies, fuel, food, and water. And yesterday, for the first time, Israeli authorities allowed the United Nations to deploy monitors at the Kisufim crossing. This is, of course, a welcome development as it will provide us with much-needed visibility into that segment of the pipeline. And just want to flag the situation on the West Bank. OCHA tells us that between the 7th and the 13th of October, it documented 71 settler attacks, half of which were related to the ongoing olive harvest season. The incident, which affected Palestinians in 27 villages, including attacks on harvesters, theft of crops, harvesting equipment, vandalism of olive trees, resulting in casualties and property damage. I want to flag a number of humanitarian situations, none of which are good. First, with Sudan, our humanitarian colleagues on the ground warned that the ongoing violence across Sudan is putting civilians at graver risk and forcing even more people to flee their homes. In recent days, fighting has escalated in North and West Darfur states, with drone strikes and clashes reported across several areas. On Sunday, a drone strike on Sarf Omra's main market in North Darfur reportedly killed at least 7 civilians. Strikes in El Geneina, the capital of West Darfur, also caused casualties. The International Organization for Migration estimates that more than 3,000 people were newly displaced in North Darfur last week alone, including 1,500 from El Fasher and another 1,500 from Abu Gamra, following renewed fighting in that village. Tensions are also rising sharply in Kordofan. Nearly 1,000 people were displaced from Lagawa town in West Kordofan state on Saturday. That's due to heightened insecurity. Meanwhile, in South Kordofan, the town of Dilling and the state capital of Kadugli remain under siege, with supply routes cut off and shortages of basic goods are worsening by the day. In Blue Nile State, clashes between armed groups displaced 600 people from Boot town in At-Tadamon locality last week. Civilians across Sudan continue to bear the brunt of this relentless violence. Despite the numerous challenges, our humanitarian colleagues continue to provide vital assistance to displaced people in areas that we and our partners are able to reach safely. And once again, we call for the immediate cessation of hostilities, the protection of civilians, and for us to be allowed to have unimpeded humanitarian access wherever it is needed. Turning to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, our colleagues and the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs are sounding the alarm over the collapse of health systems in North and South Kivu, where hostilities continue to impact civilians and devastate critical civilian infrastructure. These two provinces, 85% of health facilities are affected by shortages in medicine, while nearly 40% have seen an exodus of health staff and further undermining the delivery of services. In North Kivu alone, our partners working in health report that about a third of all health facilities in the province conflict zones have been destroyed, looted, or abandoned, leaving millions of people with extremely limited access to health care. The remaining facilities are overwhelmed and face critical shortages of essential supplies, including kits for survivors of sexual violence, cholera treatments, and just basic routine vaccines. This is happening as the province battles deadly epidemics. Since the beginning of this year, health partners have reported 8,600 cases of cholera, 8,000 cases of Mpox, and more than 10,500 cases of measles, which has already claimed dozens of lives. Our partners on the ground estimate that without urgent action, more than 6,000 preventable deaths could occur between now and the end of the year. They also project a potential 40% increase in maternal mortality in the hardest hit areas. The $2.5 billion humanitarian needs and response plan for the Congo is currently just 16% funded, with just $410 million received so far. Our health partners urgently need $6 million to procure essential supplies and maintain these life-saving services. Urgent measures are needed to ensure the continued functioning of healthcare facilities in all affected areas in all areas affected by crisis in the eastern part of the DRC. Additional funding is required to prevent a greater tragedy. We also call on the parties in this conflict as well to uphold their obligations under international humanitarian law to protect civilians, protect civilian infrastructure, including health facilities, and to ensure the safe and unimpeded access of humanitarian aid wherever it is needed. And in Haiti, just off the coast of Florida, the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs warns that a resurgence of cholera in West Department over the past months. Since September 8th, health authorities have reported new cases in the commune of Pétionville following 11 weeks with no cases confirmed in the country. In just a single week between the 5th and the 11th of October, 139 suspected cases were recorded, including more than 20 lab-confirmed cases. 5 deaths were also reported. Pétionville, as well as the capital Port-au-Prince, including the commune of Cité du Soleil, remain on red alert amid concerns that cholera is spreading at sites that is hosting internally displaced people, and there are a lot of internally displaced people in that area. Haiti's Ministry of Health, with support from the Pan American Health Organization and other humanitarian partners, have stepped up disinfection campaigns, community awareness activities, and the distribution of chlorine, safe water, and hygiene kits in the areas that are most impacted. This outbreak is unfolding amid a severe deterioration of basic services in Port-au-Prince, where only 11% of the health facilities with inpatient capacity remain fully operational. Our colleagues at OCHA and our partners continue to support national authorities' efforts to strengthen disease surveillance, expand response capacities, and contain the spread of cholera. And today is, besides that, if you count your world days, which day is today? World Statistics Day, yes, get it? Which is observed every 5 years to recognize the vital role of data in addressing today's global challenges. In his message, the Secretary General says that reliable data drives progress and recovery, and he calls for greater investment in trustworthy, timely, and impartial statistics to help shape better policies and advance sustainable development for all. And once you finish celebrating World Statistics Day, this is not my day, you're all invited to attend the launch at 6 p.m. of the global exhibit Shared Lives, Shared Future on the occasion of the 80th anniversary of this august organization. That will be in the General Assembly lobby. The Secretary General is set to make opening remarks, followed by those of the permanent representatives of Italy, Slovenia, Switzerland, with whom the Department of Global Communications is co-organizing the event. The project comprises of more than 200 stories from 193 countries and 3 other territorial entities, showcasing the impact of the UN systems on people's lives everywhere, including in the global north, often in an invisible way. And there's more information on the back on that. There is no money today. There's no quiz. So I will go to you, Farnoosh. You're sitting in the AP seat.
Yes, all alone, but it's fine. I have 2 questions. I wanted to first start with Yemen. Mm-hmm. Is there any additional details you can share about the SG's conversations with the Iranian and Yemen foreign ministers? Are they facilitating access or helping negotiate the release of the UN?
No, I mean, obviously, as we do in similar cases, it is normal for the Secretary General to speak to those member states who have special influence over the situation or who are engaged in the region. So this was in that context. It's very important that when staff of the United Nations who work on behalf of all 193 members face situations like the ones we're facing in Yemen, that those member states who can help. And that's why the Secretary General had these phone calls with these 3 foreign ministers in a very positive manner.
And then secondly, on Gaza, Israeli officials have told AP that the flow of aid is supposed to return today, but as of this afternoon, it was not immediately clear if that aid had restarted. Can you give a status on what the aid situation is?
Yeah, I don't have, beyond the information I shared with you just a few minutes ago, I don't have anything I don't think I have anything more, but my colleagues will let me know while we're briefing if I get something else. Abdelhamid.
Thank you, Stéphane. On Friday evening, the family of Abu Sha'ban was traveling back to their homes in Hayy al-Zaytun in Gaza. A shell hit their car, killing all 11 members, 7 children, 3 women, and 1 man. And yet the UN did not say one word about this.
I think we've expressed, I think the Secretary General expressed his very serious concern about the continuing violence that we're seeing in Gaza.
It's not violence, it's a crime against a family. Why there was no statement?
I think we have been extremely vocal about the plight and the suffering of the Palestinians in Gaza, and I think we are working to end that suffering as quickly as possible. Farnoosh, I am told, sorry, I had the language here, that while the crossings were closed Friday, Sunday, and Monday, the aid entered from Gaza today. The crossing was closed on Saturday. No, I do not have numbers. Okay. Yes, Abdelhamid, I'm sure you have a second question.
Yeah, my second question, and I have noticed lately that you don't mention Karim Abu Salim, the Arabic name for the crossing.
Abdelhamid, with all due respect, I just wish you would listen to what I said, because I specifically said Karim Abu Salim, Karim Shalom, in my first reference to this crossing today. So I'm happy for you to to parse the language that I use, but all that I ask is that you listen to what I said.
I didn't hear.
Gabriel.
Thank you, Steph. Speaking of border crossings, do you have any update on Rafah that the UN has been given on when it might reopen?
No.
Okay, and you said that you have Israel's allowed monitors in
Kasufim, yes.
Kasufim, thank you. How many other border crossings do you have monitors at this point?
That at this point, it's the only one where we have those types of monitors.
Okay, and last question is, why are those monitors important for you guys?
It helps us get visibility on the kind of aid, that actually is going in, not only ours, but the bilateral aid and the private sector that's going in. Yes, madam.
Zina from Yemen Free and Homeland News. I want to ask about the UN staff held in Yemen. Are you satisfied with the 15 they got released and they are just still in the compound? That's how they got
Am I what?
released?
Sorry? Am I satisfied?
The
Sorry,
UN.
can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Is it okay that the UN staff, they are just released and in the compound they didn't get freed
Well, I mean, it's
totally?
that's a true fact. What you said, it is a step in the right direction. We hope that they will be free to leave the compound as soon as possible.
My second question, why there is a lot of ambiguity surrounding their capture there? Not too much information about how they were...
I mean, I don't know. To us, it's pretty clear. Armed elements from the Houthi de facto authorities entered the compound at gunpoint, from what I understand. And they were detained in their room. You know what this? We updated you on the situation earlier in the week, and now the situation seems to have moved in the right direction. Okay, Ahmed.
Thank you, Steph. With regard to the repeated incidents of capturing UN personnel, both local and international, this time, is the Secretary General considering contacting the Iranian government, since they have significant leverage over the Houthis?
Can I just stop you? I don't know if there's a problem with the sound system, but I actually listed the phone calls the Secretary General just
My
made,
bad.
including the Foreign Minister. So
My bad.
I have zero attention span. I just hope you have a little better attention span than I do. Yes, please.
Iran says that it has informed UN that its resolution 2231 is formally ended as a cooperation deal with the IAEA is terminated, and also Pakistan and Afghanistan have agreed on to a ceasefire. So, any comments on both of these?
Well, on the Afghanistan and Pakistan, we hope that the ceasefire will hold and that all of the outstanding issues will be dealt diplomatically. We have received, the Secretary General has received letters from the Russian Federation, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and China on Resolution 2231. What I can say to that is I would just refer you back to the note to correspondence and the steps we took on September 27th, 2025. And that note was shared with you on the 28th. The Secretary General continues to call upon the parties to demonstrate renewed political will towards meaningful negotiations and to explore all avenues for the continued diplomatic engagements on the Iran nuclear issue. Frank.
Yeah, I wanted to see where the UN...
Could you put your microphone
Yes,
a
I
little
wanted
louder?
to see where the UN draws a distinction between detainees and hostages, because one would obviously involve a non-state actor and the other would involve a government. Where do you draw the line?
No, I think we are in the midst of discussions to ensure that our international colleagues are allowed to leave. We are also very much involved in discussions to ensure that the 53 national colleagues are released from arbitrary detention. Currently, we are not using the H word to describe the situation.
Just to follow up, within the UN security management system, there is a brief that was put out back in 2022 saying that under no circumstances, and maybe you can confirm this, that the UN will not pay ransom in these situations.
That is correct. Okay. Eri, please. And I'll go to you, Stefano. Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Prosper Heri. I'm a reporter from Goma, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. I have two questions. The first is, DRC is crucial in fight against climate change, but its eastern part is facing conflict that impacts really on its biodiversity. What is the UN doing to help DRC to grapple with such a situation, especially regarding biodiversity?
Well, you're very correct, Prosper, in saying, in linking conflict to the vulnerability of biodiversity, notably in the DRC. Our focus right now in the Congo, especially in the eastern part of the Congo, through where our peacekeeping mission remains and where it is not, through our humanitarian work, is to help bring some relief to people, to try to help bring people back to their farmlands, to get people's lives back on track. It is challenging often for member states to deal with the immediate crises like conflict and the long-term crises like the loss of biodiversity. But we will continue to work with the government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to address both things at once.
And the second question is, since 2023, UN, MONUSCO, and the DRC have signed an agreement about a gradual disengagement of MONUSCO from Congolese soil. But over the last months, we have seen that the security situation depleted, was really deteriorating. So have you anything to say? What is the future of MONUSCO in Democratic Republic of Congo?
MONUSCO will continue to draw down as mandated by the Security Council. At the same time, we will continue to work with the Democratic Republic of the Congo and certain parts of its security and military apparatus to ensure that they can pick up and fill the void that may be left by the departing UN forces. Stefano, then Islam.
Yes, from MINUSCO to MINURSO. Given the United States has circulated a draft resolution on Western Sahara recognizing Morocco's 2007 autonomy plan, does the Secretary General believe this initiative aligns with the UN principles of self-determination? And how does he view Washington's proposal to limit MINURSO's mandate to just 3 months?
Look, the Security Council members, in their wisdom, will make a decision on the mandate of MINURSO. I have nothing really more to add than to say that both MINURSO continues its work and the personal envoy continues his work.
But in the resolution, the United States proposed that the Secretary General will, within 3 months, will propose his idea for MINURSO and eventually United States proposing to dismantle basically the
you know
mission.
how it works. The Security Council decides and the Secretary General does. So let's wait for the resolution. Okay, yes, sorry, Islam, please.
Thank you, Stéphane. Since the ceasefire was put on effect since October 10th, according to the reports, there are around 80 ceasefire violations by Israel. And I think last report was 97 Gazans died, if not more at the moment. I just would like to know, does UN take any part monitoring the ceasefire in Gaza? And what is the mechanism other than news reports who violates the ceasefire?
No, we are not part of a ceasefire monitoring mechanism. Our focus in Gaza currently is on humanitarian assistance. Obviously, in the process of doing our work, we are witness to things, and I think, as I did earlier today, we speak out against it. But we are not part of an official mechanism which monitors a ceasefire. That's up to the mediators.